Hi everyone, my name is Mariah and I want to welcome you to the Stash Challenge 2025. I decided to do a little video about the plan for this year. So for those of you that have participated in my Stash Challenge last year, um, you can skip ahead to the part where we're going to talk about what's going on for 2025. I'm going to go over the new handy dandy spreadsheet, which I'm very excited about. But if you are brand new and you have no idea what I'm talking about, first of all, welcome. I'm really glad that you're here. Really excited for you to join us. I thought I would just give a quick little history about the Stash Challenge. So, back in 2023, me and my bestie, hi Amy, we saw a knitting challenge. It was organized by Rachel is Knitting, and it was to knit 223 grams of yarn for the year of 2023. We thought that sounded like fun, so Amy actually put together a spreadsheet, and together we tracked how much yarn we knitted up. We nailed that challenge, had a lot of fun doing it, and thought in the next year, why don't we do it again? And why don't we try something a little different? So we came up with using up our yarn stash. So thus, the year of the stash 2024 was born. And then we thought, well, if it was fun with just the two of us, what if we invited more friends? Um, and so this past year, a few of us have been having a lot of fun tracking how much of our stash yarn that we knit up. I made up a new handy dandy spreadsheet, and we've been hanging out on my Discord server, encouraging each other, showing each other our accomplishments, bragging, all the fun stuff. And now that that's coming to an end, we're making plans for the new year. So hopefully that you will plan to join us. There will be details on how to join. You can find information on Instagram. You can find the information here. You can private message me, all that good stuff if you need more. But hopefully this will answer a lot of your questions. All right, now that hopefully everyone is on the same page, let's talk about the plan for 2025. We're doing Stash Challenge 2025, and the basic rules are going to be the same. Any yarn in your stash that you have before January 1st, 2025, that counts as your stash yarn for this challenge. Starting January 1st, 2025, any of that yarn that you use will count towards the stash challenge. Now, I've had some suggestions on ways to improve, ways to change the challenge. So this year we're going to have two categories for the stash challenge. The first one is pretty much what we've been doing. Those are going to be the heavyweight lifters. So those are the people who are going to track how many grams that they use up from their stash yarn. And then the second category is going to be the long distance runners. So those are going to be the amount of how many yards of your yarn that you use. So we're going to go over the spreadsheet and how that all is going to work. This year, the spreadsheet, there are a lot of more locked sections on the spreadsheet, so you won't be able to change them because a very good friend of mine, Cozy Cats Creates, was so kind and generous with her time to help put in some formulas. So it is going to be doing a lot of the math for us because in order to calculate how many yards you use, it takes a little bit more fancy math work. So I want to go over all of that in the spreadsheet tutorial part of this video. But just a little heads up, if you are only doing the grams, great. If you are doing the yards as well, you're pretty much going to be participating in both because we need how many grams in order to calculate the yards. So you can just do one, you can do both. It's really up to you. And this is just supposed to be fun, and it's supposed to encourage all of us to try to get through that stash yarn. So In the next section, then, we're going to go over the spreadsheet.
Now let's take a look at the handy dandy spreadsheet itself for the Stash Challenge 2025. When you open up your spreadsheet, one of the first tabs that might be helpful to go to is down here is the frequently asked questions tab. I have filled in a lot of the information that we're going to be talking about here. It's all written down for you, and hopefully that's helpful. So feel free to refer back to this if you forget something or you're confused about something. You can also reach out on our Discord with any questions. We're happy to answer those questions. The next thing that you're going to do is down here at the bottom, you are going to look for your name. The names are hopefully in alphabetical order. And you can use the arrows down here at the right to scroll down and try to find your name. If that is proving to be a little difficult, you can also come over here to the 3 lines, click on there, and hopefully a little bit more easily find your name. We are going to take a look at my spreadsheet. So click in there and it's going to take you right to your spreadsheet. Your name should be at the top. So just double check, make sure you're on your spreadsheet. Ideally, you shouldn't be able to edit someone else's spreadsheet. No one else should be able to edit yours except for me and Kat. And we also have some sections of the spreadsheet that are locked. And we've outlined those in a bolder black line. So here, the heavyweight lifters, total grams, and the grams of your stash yarn used, all that is locked. The spreadsheet is going to do that math for you. And in order to do the long distance runners and record how many yards we've used, we require a little bit more math to get that information. So we have 2 sections, 2 columns locked here. This is the yards per gram, and then the yards of your stash yarn used. So the spreadsheet is going to do that math for us. Now, the only section you're required to fill in to participate is going to be the pre-weight of your yarn and the post-weight of your yarn. That information, you put in those numbers and it's going to calculate over here for you how many grams you used, and we'll get a total number. If that is the only thing that you want to do, then you're able to participate in the challenge. That is what is required. This information is also required over here in the long distance runner section in order to calculate how many yards. The other thing that we would require if you do decide you want to participate in the long distance runners, you do have to put in information from the ball band, and that includes how many yards from that ball band and how many grams from that ball band. That's going to give us the number here that we need in order to calculate how many yards you used. So again, if you just want to participate with the grams, if you want to participate at all, everyone has to put in the pre-weight and post-weight of their yarn. If you want to take it a step further and calculate your yards, a little bit extra information is required. So what I am going to suggest in here is you can put in as much information in the name and description of your stash yarn or the project that you want. I think the more information, the better, the more helpful it will be to keep you on track so you know what you were using. So as an example over here, I had put in the yarn that I'm using for some socks, the Kelborn Woolens Perennial. I did put in the color Midnight. Also, I did that because I'm also going to be using the same yarn in a different color in the neutral, so that way I know which one I'm talking about. I have put in the project, very basic, but you could put in more information for that sock if you wanted to. You could put in the name of the designer or any information you want, really. It's up to you, whatever helps you the most. So then what you're going to do is weigh that ball of yarn. You're going to put that number in the pre-weight of yarn. And then when you first start the challenge, you're going to put that same number in for your post-weight of yarn. And as you use yarn, you're going to be reweighing that ball of yarn and you're going to be putting that number in. So this number is going to go down. So let's say after I knit, by the end of January, I go to weigh that ball of yarn again. I'm going to put that number in here, and let's say I get down to 45 grams. It's going to calculate how many grams I used. So when you're weighing the balls of yarn or the skeins of yarn, the number that's going to change each month are these post weights of yarn. Now you'll notice over here, I have some yarn here that has a cardboard spool. So this particular yarn is wound up on a cardboard spool, and I wasn't going to remove it from that. So all I did is weigh the yarn with that cardboard spool. This yarn actually only has 25 grams, but you can see that my pre-weight comes out at 45 grams. So that cardboard spool, if we're doing math, comes out to 20 grams. It's going to be included in my pre-weight of yarn. It's also going to be, the yarn is still going to be on that spool, so when I re-weigh the yarn, it's still going to be on that spool. What I'm going to start getting is the difference in yarn. So if I weigh it again and I have 35 grams, it's telling me I used 10 grams of the yarn. Okay, so the idea here is if you are weighing your yarn and it has stitch markers on it, or it has ball bands in there or whatever, you're going to weigh it the same way every time. That way we get the difference, and the difference is going to be how much of the yarn was removed from that and put on your project. So that's the information we're getting here. So kind of a similar concept, someone had asked about, what about whips? So I had a couple thoughts about that, and if you have a whip from 2004 that you're still going to be knitting on in 2005, and you want your yarn that you use from your stash on that project to be included, the easiest thing to do is going to be to weigh the ball of yarn. So starting January 1st, weigh your ball of yarn, put that in here, the pre-weight and the post-weight, and then as you knit from that ball, you will just be changing that post-weight number. That's going to be the easiest thing to do. Now, for some reason you forget and you need to put in a whip. So let's say over here you have a whip that you put in. You're going to be weighing the actual whip itself, the work in progress, the project. You're going to be weighing the actual, let's just say the sweater itself. You're still going to weigh the project. Okay, let's say right now the project weighs 300. You're going to still put in that same number and your post weight. Okay. But the number that's going to be changing is going to be the pre-weight. So if you are weighing a project and you are going to every month re-weigh that project, that number that's going to change, that's going to be in the pre-weight of yarn. So when we weigh yarn, balls of yarn, the number that we're going to change each month is going to be the post-weight. But if for some reason you need to weigh a project, you're going to be changing the pre-weight. The other thing you can do here as well is if you have stitch markers or needles, so you can say that you are weighing this and it has the size 8 needles and 3 stitch markers. That way, the next time you weigh that sweater, you don't have to take all that stuff off. Just note that you weigh it with those things on there. So it's the same concept that we did up here with the cardboard spool. And then one other suggestion that I had, if you're making a big project like a sweater or a blanket and you're going to be using multiple balls of yarn, instead of taking all of that yarn and weighing it all at once, because then each month you're going to have to weigh all of that yarn again, you can do it by ball by ball. So we have our sweater blanket here, and instead of weighing all the yarn, I'm just going to weigh ball 1, and I'm going to put in the pre and post weight here. And then hopefully near the end of the month, maybe I've used up all of that ball. So I changed that, and now I can put in ball 2, and I'm going to weigh that, put that in, see how many grams it was, put in the post weight, and then as the second ball of yarn changes, that's the only thing that I'm weighing. So you could have as many balls of yarn as you need for that project, and you can just keep going down for that. So those are just some suggestions that I had to make this a little bit easier. Please come at me with any questions if you're confused about anything. And then what's going to happen at the end of every month, uh, these numbers up here are going to be tallied um, all together, so we can see who has the most grams and yards that they've worked up. We do a little fun score sheet to see who's in the top 10, just for a little bit of motivation. It Hopefully it'll be fun. A little bit of competition is a good thing, although this is not a competition. This is hopefully going to motivate everybody to get through their stash. But again, feel free to come hang out with us on the Discord if you have any questions or concerns, and have a good time.